Adaptation is one of the most important aspects of competitive Smash, and depending on who you ask, adaptation will mean different things to different characters in different matchups. So today I'm going to go over the most important tips that will apply to all playstyles and all skill levels. The first tip I'm going to be going over is improving your autopilot. Essentially what Smash players mean when they talk about autopilot is having a good neutral and autopilot allows you to spend more energy on reacting to your opponent, which therefore will make it easier to adapt. Top players understand this fact and are much better at adapting because of this. The second tip is going to be using adaptation only when it's needed. So having a good playstyle will allow you to see when adaptation is useful and when it is not. At low level play, adaptation is essentially just reading your opponent's bad habits that most likely will not change. So that would be like double jumping out of hit stun, or always get up attacking when landing after a missed tech, or things like that. But at higher levels it's much different. It's mainly about reading and predicting their mix-ups while trying to read their advantage and disadvantage options, and frame trapping their recovery routes when possible. So the third tip is to have a strong mental game and have strong mind games versus your opponent. So Smash fundamentals begin in the mind and mind games, so you want to strengthen those first. The fourth one would be to take more calculated risks. And now for the fifth tip, we're going to get into understanding your opponent's thought process. So I already know we went over mind games, but that was mainly on your end of the mental spectrum. So this is about knowing your opponent's goals and how to directly counterplay them. So for instance, if you are going off stage versus someone and you know they have a predictable recovery route, you have to know what your opponent is going to do to try to get back to ledge and know how your character can best cover those options, right? Secondary to this, there's this concept called Yomi layers, which is basically just when you know something and your opponent also knows the same thing, so you're trying to like outthink their outthinking of your mental game, if that makes sense. So it's just layers upon layers of reads is basically what Yomi layers are. So this is more important at higher levels of play than at lower levels, but the essential thing you want to know about Yomi layers is that at low level play, if you think your opponent's going to do something like a grab, or like just if you're thinking of like a more simple comparison, just like rock paper scissors, right? If you know your opponent's going to throw out rock because they've only been throwing out rock the entire time, and you want to throw out paper, most of the time in lower levels of play, you'll be able to throw out paper for free and it'll be fine, and paper will cover rock and you'll win, right? But at higher level play, they'll be throwing out rock consistently to bait you into throwing paper, and that's the real time when you would want to throw out rock or scissors. So that's the best way I could explain Yomi layers without it getting super complicated. I'm going to link a video in the description talking more directly about that concept though, because it's slightly more complex of the topics we're going over. So the sixth tip in this guide is going to be having a lot of exposure and experience in your gameplay. So consistent and varied exposure to top players of really good characters is the best tool to understanding adaptation. There are over 80 characters in this game, so obviously you won't be able to fight a pro of every single character every single time, but even getting small tidbits of information through character discords, video guides, or even just playing versus a CPU to know how a decent player would play the matchup is a really good tool to look at for explaining how you would want to play versus a really good player of a certain character, and also just to give yourself another understanding of their options, right? We talked about knowing what your opponent is thinking and understanding what they're going to throw out in terms of like the layers upon layers of like counterplay and overthinking and outthinking your opponent. you can't outthink your opponent if you don't know what moves they have, right? Like you can't beat an Olimar if you don't know that their down B has like super armor, or a villager if you didn't know that like their neutral B has invincibility, right? So it's about knowing those little things and matchup specific things that you can only find out through experience and exposing yourself to different matchups and character knowledge. So tip number 7 is going to be using your prior knowledge as well as peer-reviewed or peer-generated resources. So these are mainly going to be your character discords for characters that you play or struggle playing against, character guides online, or just from YouTube videos, like all the Ike guides and Ike videos I have on my channel, things like that. And then in terms of prior knowledge, it's just similar to what I talked about with exposure. Once you've exposed yourself to enough things, you'll know how certain characters play, interact, and you'll know essentially how frame data works just by looking at how different characters play and the timing of different moves.
And then tip number 8 is going to be understanding emotion and sensory of your opponent and within yourself as well. So this is kind of similar to the whole mental aspect I was mentioning before, but the way that emotion and sensory are slightly different is that understanding emotion first and foremost is just the basic emotion that you know already, like anger, frustration, lack of confidence, reluctance, things like that. Those are all just different emotions that you or your opponent can express during the course of the match, right? And then sensory is just your awareness and your ability to react to those emotions and plan around them accordingly, right? So if your opponent is always super reckless off stage and super cocky and always goes for attacks when they're at an advantage, then you can use that to your advantage and then either drift out of their combo and then reversal them off stage, or counter if you have a fast counter or something like that. So that's one example of where sensory comes into play. Directly more in your own gameplay, the main thing I would be watching for yourself is patience, right? Because the most common tip you'll hear most coaches say is to play more patiently, right? Or that you'll hear commentators say, oh, they're not playing patiently. This example of knowing when to play patiently or knowing when to play more aggressively comes into play a lot of the time, and it is really important to understand at any level of play.
So for tip number 9, we're going to get into what's called baiting and punishing your opponent. So baiting and punishing is essentially the act of just throwing out moves or not throwing out moves to bait your opponent into attacking you like recklessly, or to attacking you or approaching you without their fear of being hit. Because the point of the bait is to make yourself look vulnerable and then punish them for trying to punish you. So it's essentially whiff punishing, but it's with a little bit more like forethought behind it. So the purpose of that in terms of adaptation is if you know that character's approaching you with a certain move or a certain set of moves, like you know which ones you'll be able to like bait them out for going for, right? So for example with Ike, Ike loves to go for full hop or short hop nair, right, and up B. So sometimes as Ike, what I'll do to bait people to think that they can punish me is I'll land with nair like just far enough away that they can't shield grab me, like with good spacing, or I'll land with nair a bunch and then mix up by landing with reverse landing up air to make them think that they can anti-air me. So those are two just direct examples of baiting and punishing, but there are more examples in some other videos that I'll try to link below in the comments or in the description, but those are just two examples specific for my character, but everyone's character and matchup might be different. Number 10. The last tip to adapt at a top level in Smash is to have a reliable partner. So having a reliable partner means having a good training partner, someone for VOD review, someone for questions on just matchups in general, or just someone to help you out with the mentality aspect of Smash and having a good mindset going into tournaments or going into friendlies with people and all that type of stuff. Additional like supplementary options to this would be coaching, joining grind discords, and participating in money matches. The first two are a lot more reliable than the last one in terms of getting like direct experience and a good partner in the long term. But money matches can be good if a random top player shows up at one of your locals and you really just want to like learn the matchup, and there's like a lot of people who want to play versus them and you don't think you're going to get a chance in any other way. And if you're playing versus a really good player, I wouldn't recommend money matching for all that much. Just do it like for very little money, just for the experience more than anything, like a best of 3 or a best of 5. So the easiest way I would say to find a good reliable training partner is to join a Discord, right? So my Discord, for example, has a good amount of members and has a lot of different people from all over the world with all different types of characters and playstyles. So the benefit of having someone in a Discord is that you can reach out to them whenever you want to, and if your more go-to training partner isn't there, you can always ask for a second one or find a backup partner, or have a like whole group of backup partners all ready to help you. Another good aspect of it is you can like directly send your VODs in a place that's all organized, or look over the comments on other people's VOD review, like from past weeks and things like that. And also being able to just share memes and funny stuff and talk about mentality and share funny different clips and lab combos and stuff like that is also very good. And another underrated option that I've been getting more into recently is reaching out to people on social media. So the main one I've been doing this with lately is been with Reddit. There's a subreddit called r/crazyhand, which is probably the best one out there for asking for advice, asking for VOD review, just general tips about the game and stuff like that. r/rage also can be helpful if you like use the flair of like rage needing advice, but it's usually better to go into one of the other ones, to be honest. But that's just what I've seen so far. On Instagram or mainly Instagram is like the only other place I can really think of. If you like know people who play Smash on there, or like have people that you know who play Smash on Instagram, you can message them there or try to get in contact with them that way. But usually it all comes back down to either Discord or Reddit if you're really looking for something more like serious in terms of a training partner, because those are the most reliable sources. But yeah, outside of that, my last like final like bonus tip, I guess I would say, is make sure your mentality is the most important thing in this entire process in terms of adaptation and just having a good time in Smash. Yeah, just making sure that you remember that no matter what, at the end of the day, all Smash is really is just a game that we all have fun with and are all just trying to get better at. Just to have a good time and just to like hang out with friends, essentially, just like how you started playing the game, you know? So as long as you have a positive mindset and have like the will to improve in Smash, you'll improve at Smash. And with that, those were my top 10 tips on how to develop top player adaptation in Smash Bros. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Currently only like 8% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed, so if you're one of those 92% of people and you enjoy watching my videos, please subscribe so I can like take my channel to the next level. And also, I'm going to be running a giveaway on this video, so I'm going to say check the comments or the description for the giveaway details. Since this video was about adaptation specifically, the giveaway is most likely going to be for a coaching session on mentality or sensory or adaptation in general. So it'll basically be whoever wins the giveaway will get their choice between those three. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.